Hi everyone, good afternoon. How's the Josh? Awesome. So I'm Geetika. I have been in Web3 space before it was called Web3 space. It was a blockchain space. I started my blockchain journey in 2017. My parents were scared. They said, "Scam में काम मत करो बेटा, कुछ अच्छी government job की तैयारी कर लो." So that's how it was. So I was building a community for ICOs. Then I was working on building a DAO where people can collaborate and buy NFTs as a DAO. I've been with my own internet from Feb, and I head marketing there. So Moi stands for My Own Internet. It's a L1 blockchain company. How we have Ethereum, Solana, and multiple others. We are also our own blockchain. But before we get into what Moi is doing, what Moi is building, let's talk about today's topic, how to make practical progression in Web3 and Metaverse. A lot of people are building a lot of different ideas on Web3. Each of them aim to solve mostly one or two use cases. But what about the foundational problems that we have currently? I'll be elaborating more on those foundational problems using examples in the next few slides. But I want to understand here first, how many of you are familiar with blockchain, cryptocurrency, metaverse, or you have some idea? Awesome. So let's step back and think. Why did we feel the need of building blockchains or cryptocurrency or metaverse in the first place? Something was missing in the current systems. That's why we felt the need that they need to improve. That is the reason we felt that, okay, we should look at something better. So how humans have evolved. Similarly, in parallel, tech has also evolved over the years. First, we had the computing age, then the information age, and now we are in the digital age. So computing age, a good example would be a payroll system maybe, or calculators, where you were doing something using technology. Then was the information age, where everything revolved around the information we are sharing. A good example can be social media, can be your e-commerce websites. Now we are moving towards digital age. It's the age of robotics, IoT, blockchains. So it's all about creating interactions. The systems have to talk to each other rather than humans. The systems have to work around humans rather than humans building and working around the systems. So if we talk about the slide, if you can see, like the first few systems were distributed in nature. We had a client, we had a server, and most of the people who are college students, they must be learning the same thing right now also, I'm pretty sure. We start with, especially when we are learning Java, we start with that client-server interaction, right? Then came peer-to-peer network, where the network used to control all the interactions. For example, Facebook, Twitter, all your interactions are controlled by them. If Twitter wants, they can ban your account tomorrow. Why? They own your data. They own your interactions. They can filter out and say, this is offensive, this is not offensive. The control lies with them. Now, what we are building at Moi is personalized internet. So by personalization, the entire idea is that the systems have to be aware of the context. In what context do you want to do a particular transaction? What is the priority here? And the user is put in control. As I said, I think these concepts will be more clear as we move towards the examples. And we are creating self-sovereign and zero-knowledge proofs. We have our own identity storage and metaverse solutions. And the idea is to create a individualized trust. So for example, when we started with the tech initially, everything was permissioned. But now when we are moving towards blockchain, in most of the blockchains, we look at democratic systems. But I have a fundamental question to ask. Do you think everyone, let's say there is a DAO, there are 100 people, do you think all 100 of them will be capable to answer some particular questions in exact same way? Won't some people have more knowledge? Shouldn't those people's opinion get more weightage? But none of the blockchains currently are working towards it. We are working on a very flat model that we assume everybody's needs are same, we assume everybody's requirements are same, we feel everybody requires some set of guidelines. But then how is it truly decentralized? Because if you cannot personalize it, how will you decentralize it? That's the angle we are coming from. So let's say earlier when we started, the technology used to support day-to-day functions like payroll management. Now technology is a way of life. Example, social media. We are moving towards a digitally interacting world. And the technology has to emerge so that we can fulfill the demands of the new world, rather than just building products for the sake of building products. Ultimately, it is about usability. Ultimately, it is about creating business solutions that work. Ultimately, it is about having impact on the user's day-to-day life. Yeah, I think we can skip this. Sure. Now, so first of all, I would like to say, because I'm talking about other blockchains, why they don't work. I'm not against any other blockchain, but rather, those are the blockchains that have paved way for us as well. They were the torchbearers for blockchain. But if there are certain issues that we have, what is stopping the practical migration from Web 2 to Web 3? Why everybody, blockchain has been around for a long time. If it is so great, why has everybody not moved to Web 3 already? Why are we thinking? Where is the hesitation? And trust me, it is not lack of resources. That is a factor in it for sure, but that is not the top priority. The hesitation is because we are still trying to figure out if the blockchain industry will actually work. People are still sitting and trying to analyze if it's actually going to solve their problems. So the main three problems we have right now is the environmental cost, obviously, then the lack of regulation. So now when we are talking about democratic systems, if we add regulation to them, won't they become undemocratic? And the entire idea of blockchain is to have democratic systems. But there has to be some sort of personalized regulation. For example, let's say a bank wants to shift to blockchain tomorrow. Do you think they want to store all their data in anonymous nodes? Like, how will it make sense for them? That's why they are not moving, because it doesn't solve their problem. But if there was an option to add, let's say, out of 100 nodes, one node of their own choice, where they get to maintain a copy of all the transactions, that will help them. That will give them that confidence that, you know what, we can personalize regulation to a certain extent. But at the same time, if you regulate it too much, then again it will beat the purpose of being blockchain. So it has to be a smart balance between both of them. And that is where we are at. How many of you have ever transferred BTC to any of your friends? How much time it took? Two to 3 minutes? You're lucky. A Polygon is, yeah, okay. They are scaling and solving certain problems, of course. But on Ethereum chain, 10 to 15. Okay, let me ask one more question. Let's say we say why cryptocurrencies are not becoming mainstream. Why we are not able to pay in a coffee shop or in a shopping mall using a cryptocurrency. Would you stand in a queue for 10 minutes just for your payment to get verified and processed? No, right? That's why we are not getting adoption on Web3, because we are not solving the real world problems. We are trying to work more on the concept rather than the practicality. So before I talk about MOI, I want to discuss something called Krama. So this is a new computational framework, and this is for typical tech people. If you guys want to read more about it, I'll be happy to provide some resources, because I cannot cover Krama in like 5 minutes. So when I talk about personalization, when I talk about practical adaptability, when I talk about how we are solving the real world problems, this is our base. This is how we started. And the first implementation of Krama is called My Own Internet. It works around people, personalization, and context. People should be able to personalize their own blockchains using context. That is the entire idea. And this is the world's first personalized blockchain. Using Krama, other personalized blockchains also can be produced. So Krama is the vision, and MOI is the implementation. Billion transaction, million nodes. How many of you are validators for any of the blockchains? None. Okay, how many of you are aware of the concept of validators? What are validators, what they do? Awesome. So if you Google and see, most of the blockchains have very limited validators. And those validators are also, in some way, there are people who can control it. Because majority of the validators belong to a particular group or just set of 3 or 4 people who hold like 60–70% of the nodes in a particular network. Then how it is democratized? Until unless you add so many validator nodes that it becomes impossible to hack them or to create a group or something where they can be controlled, there is no point of having validators and saying this is for democratizing the society, the digital society, I mean. So we aim to have million nodes, and we already have around, I think, 800 nodes on us, and we just started the process like 3 months back. We aim to onboard up to 50,000 validators within next 6 to 7 months, because ultimately validators are going to be backbone of a blockchain. And that is how we ensure that the transactions scale. Again, this is a very tech slide. I would not go through each and every component because all of you might not be interested in this. But how exactly, if some of you might be thinking, okay, she's talking about, personalizing, solving problems, what about the tech part? How is it being built? So these are all of our trademark technologies. We'll be launching our language called CocoLang soon. It is quite similar to Solidity and other Web3 languages out there, so the transition will not be difficult. Then Krama, of course, is in the middle of it. We have something very interesting called Tesseract. So we have a very different data structure that enables transactions to process much more faster. I'll be elaborating about that soon. Yeah. So what happens in blockchains is that most of the transactions, like for example, let's say there are 2 different applications. They all share the same data structure because they are on the same blockchain. But what about the fact that if we have multiple parallel data structures, so that each of your application works on a personal blockchain? It acts like it is on a personal blockchain. So your transactions are not hampered or affected in any way by the actions of other on your blockchain. Your data is your way. So when we talk about personalization and creating applications that work, I'll give you a few examples. First example is when we say pictures. So I used the word context, that for every context, the solutions cannot be same. Let's say you have vacation picture, you went to a cool place. You want to share them with everyone, right? That's why we have Instagram and Facebook and so many other social media apps that are flourishing. But what if we have a title deed, land title deed? Do we want to share it with everybody? No, we want to store it securely. So on a blockchain, you need not have 2 different applications to do these processes. The applications built on our blockchain are smart enough that you can choose which images based on the context will go where. Where will the images be stored? So that is the entire idea of creating context-aware blockchain. Then I'll come to another example, coffee and house. Let's say you're buying a $5 coffee. versus you're buying a $1 million house. Both transactions are happening on blockchain. We are in 2050. Crypto is everywhere. And we have not improved on the current processes. How will it typically go? To send any BTC, you need 5 blocks to, record the transaction. But do we need same 5 blocks for your buying a house as well as for buying a coffee? When you're buying coffee, you want speed. Even if 1 or 2 blocks register it, and it makes your work much more easier, won't you go for it? Why do you need 5 for every single thing? But when you're buying a house, won't you prefer to have more nodes registering what you are doing and emphasizing more on the security part rather than the speed? So the context differs, the value differs, and value is not always about money. So that is what we aim to solve, where you can have your transactions based on different contexts. And another problem that we foresee with most of the other blockchains was that when you talk about metaverse, if 2 transactions are happening in parallel, I'm talking here, there might be 2 people in the back seat talking to each other, aren't they happening in parallel? But if you have to register them on most of the blockchains today, at least what I'm aware of, if I'm wrong, please correct me, none of the blockchains support you to parallelly record events. They will be recorded one after the other, even if they were happening in parallel. Like? Solana supports? Okay, we'll discuss. Sure. So what is missing when we talk about, sorry. So when you build on Moi, you can choose. When you're building your own application, you can customize it. You can personalize it to your requirements.
I have to be a developer first?
Like, whichever business is building that application, they can customize as per the requirement, as per the business goals.
Okay, but see, I may have both the requirements. Some things I want to be public and private.
Right.
So can I ensure, like, how do I ensure in the application that some things are public and others are private?
You can code on us. You can code and ensure that.
Okay, so your blockchain actually supports that. Other blockchains would not even through coding allow that thing.
So it's actually a good question, actually. So basically, we don't work under the framework of using Web3 only. If you want to build, if your business wants to build an application where you need 3 features which are Web3 enabled and 2 features which are Web2, why should I force you to adopt all Web3 features for the sake of it? That's where we are coming from. That's why it is personalized, like you choose.
And what about the addition of nodes? That's also done by the coders? Like addition of nodes based on use case?
So you cannot choose the nodes, obviously, but you can choose the number of nodes.
Yeah, that's what I was asking.
Yeah, you cannot choose the exact nodes because that will hamper the anonymity. But of course, you can choose the number of nodes based on what your requirement is.
Okay. Yeah, so for example, like draw a limit that for transactions below this limit, I'll have lesser nodes, and for transactions...
That is optional. Like, I mean, if you want it.
Yeah, right.
It is not for every application that has to be built that way. In case you want to do it like that, there is an option. If you want to keep it same for everybody, you can keep it same for everyone.
And as of now, there is no other blockchain which allows such applications to be created?
Not to my knowledge. Yeah, not to my knowledge.
Okay, thank you.
Also, another differentiator that we have is on the smart contract level. Usually, for our identity, storage, ledger, and compute, everything is managed at the smart contract level. However, ours is a decoupled architecture, which means identity, storage, and ledger. They don't get affected directly by each other. So what happens is that you don't need to write smart contract. If you want to just use our identity solution, why should you write a smart contract? It should be as good as plug and play. Just come, write code for 2-3 days, use our identity management solution. That's how we work. That is how our...
I have a question.
Yeah.
What languages are supported? Solidity and what?
Sorry, what?
What languages is support?
So right now you can build on Solidity, but we are working on launching our own language. It's called Coco. And we'll be launching it in January. It is quite similar to Solidity. So it is very easy for somebody who knows that to migrate.
Yeah, and you talked about that you need to use all blockchain when you are integrating. That's not the case. That depends upon the use case you want.
Yeah.
You can use and customize the blockchain as per that. A lot of blockchains do that.
Sorry?
Polygon allow you
Yeah.
to use Polygon ID just for DID.
Right.
There's so many solutions everybody is having.
See,
integrated.
Polygon, I'm not against Polygon, but they are a layer 2, they are forking Ethereum. I'm talking about what a blockchain does. We are a L1. So
There
L2s
are
are
lot of-
optimizing it, Ethereum, which is great.
There are a lot of L1 players who are doing that things. I will, if you want, I can tell you the list. Lot of players are there.
Sure, sure,
which are
I would
doing
love
these
to
things.
know. Okay. Okay. No problem. Sure. So we have three solutions in our ecosystem right now: identity, storage, and metaverse. So when we talk about our identity solution, it is context specific, it is ZKP enabled, and the user control authentication. So user control authentication means that you have the complete freedom to choose how you want to shape or structure your identity management. We have a unique thing called avatar. So if some of you have downloaded IOME app today, so we have a feature called avatar. So it's an interesting feature. Let's say you go to a pub where they need to know if you are 18 plus or not. Every time you have to pull out your ID card to prove. That ID card has all the information. They have information. You're sharing your house address, you're sharing your picture, everything. Imagine a world where you just have to carry a small verified token which says you are 18 plus, and you don't have to pull your ID card ever again. You don't have to share your information every time. So that is one avatar of you. Similarly, if we are talking about, let's say, e-commerce website, there your complete address, your landmark, other things are needed. So the requirement is different for different digital identities. Why have the same format for every single scenario? So we have avatars. If you come and create your certain avatars, based on the application, you are in control of how much information you want to reveal to a particular app. Then we have a storage solution. So zero knowledge interaction, we have decentralized. So it is on demand. And it is, yeah. I guess I'll not bore you guys with the full thing. But if anybody has any more questions about this, they can reach out to me because this is a little complicated to explain. Cool. And we also have Moiverse. It is a metaverse solution. Using a metaverse solution, we already have an adopter on us. It's an NFT marketplace where people can buy NFTs without crypto as well. You can use your debit or credit card and buy NFTs there. And it has a plug and play format, so it is very easy to build metaverse apps on that compared to other systems out there. So we already have 15 plus adopters and around 30 people that we are talking to. That is where we are at as a company, as a protocol. The concept started in 2018. For 1.5 years, people were researching. Some of our foundational team members come from Ethereum Foundation. And then we collaborated and started building the chain 3 years back. And now we are ready to launch the smart contract functionalities very soon. So all the talk that we did about what is missing, what is the requirement of the new emerging world, that is what this comes down to. In Web 2, we have availability, integrity, and confidentiality, which are interdependent on each other. If we have any product managers from Web2 world, I'm sure they are quite familiar with the CIA triad. So what happens is availability of information, making sure the information is secured in a certain manner. For example, if we take a bank example, not everybody had to have access to customer records. The person who is working on like debit card theft department maybe, they might need to access some information of the customer, but they need not know the PIN number of customer, right? So that is confidentiality. Availability, it should be available. Integrity, it should be authentic. It should not be missing. So this is how Web2 world applications were structured. When we came to Web3, we had a different dilemma. We had scalability, security, and decentralization. If we scale too much, there is a problem with decentralization or security with most of the other solutions. This information is out there on internet. I don't want to take names. If you just Google what is blockchain trilemma and why it is hampering, you will figure out that most of the solutions out there, they will get impacted negatively as they grow. So Krama is somewhere in between, where we want the applications to have the confidentiality. They should be available. There has to be integrity. And at the same time, we should not be choosing between scalability and decentralization or scalability and security. As we are moving to the future, if you remember, I started from comparing a human evolution with tech evolution. But this is the future. We are all going to merge one day with the technology. Maybe we'll all be cyborgs. Who knows? This is what we are heading at. So the solutions have to work around humans rather than humans working around solutions. We cannot lose control to machines. Machines have to be designed around our needs. That's it. And I guess a lot of people had questions, so I'm happy to take up now.
The question I have is related to the problem that right now most of the blockchain is facing.
Right.
That is transaction per second.
Right.
Okay, the TPS is the problem that nobody is able to solve.
Yeah.
And the UPI, TPS, if you search, is very high, and already government has stated that if anybody can solve the TPS of that,
right,
that blockchain is going to survive. Otherwise, everybody will be shut down after some time.
Agreed.
So, what are your views on that? Which way you can solve that? Because the
million
way
validators.
The way I am seeing you,
right,
you are Web 2 plus Web 3.
No.
You are not going properly Web 3.
We are, see, there are two ways to see it. Either you take definition of Web3 and try to fit us into that mold, or you see what we are building and see if Web3 functionalities work on us. So we support, as I said, if you want to use two features that are from Web2, tomorrow Web4 will come, Web5 will come. Technically, we are Web Infinity, but I don't want to start new controversy. Already we have all this Web5, Web6, all that thing going on. So we are outside the trilemma.
And what about the interoperability part? Because that's the basic point that every blockchain is facing.
Right.
Tomorrow we do not know which blockchain is going to be used by which country.
Right.
So have you already start working on it, or is there a way we can do interoperability already in it?
Okay. See, there are multiple, again, ways to look at this question. But the thing is, most of the things can be personalized on blockchain, but I can definitely take this to my developers and get a better understanding in terms of how I should explain it to you. Any other? I think there is one at the back.
Hello. So can you please tell us more about the MOI marketplace that you are building upon, and is there any cross-chain transfers available there?
So cross-platform transfers will be available from March onwards. We are still very young. We are still building. People can build smart contracts on us, but we are still building a funnel for them to access the right developer docs. Like we are there. We are quite behind. We are a baby in Moi. But definitely, people can do transactions, and I can show you a demo of the marketplace if we can connect after the talk.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, can we give a round of applause for Geetika, please?
Thank you, everyone.
Very good presentation.